Hey guys, so I wanted to make a video going a little more in depth about how different lacing systems affects the fit of a shoe. And it's kind of important because everyone's foot is a little bit different and everyone understands you have to measure the length. The width is also important, but there's a third aspect which is probably just as important, and that's going to be your instep. And that's kind of like this part right over here, and some people have really high ones, some people have average ones, and some people actually have a low instep. And that's all going to affect the fit of your shoe. If you have an average instep, which is most people, that's why it's called the average instep, you're going to just look at your measurement and your width. So for example, I'm a 10.5D with an average instep, so I know I'm going to be a 10.5D. At the same time, some people have a higher instep. So if I measured a 10.5D and I know that I have a high instep, I'm probably going to want to size up to a size 11D shoe, and probably avoid a loafer or anything that doesn't have a lace. If I have a really, really high instep, I'm actually going to want to stick with even a derby shoe, because a derby is much more forgiving, it's much more adjustable than even an Oxford lace shoe. Same thing if you have a very low instep, you may want to size down half a size. It's actually not as common as a higher instep, but still you want to take that into consideration. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to walk through the different types of lacing systems. I'm actually going to try them on, which kind of describe to you a little bit about what it's like to put them on, how they feel, and again just show you how the enclosure, and explain to you how the instep affects the fit of that particular shoe. All right, so first we're going to try on the Stuart Blucher or derby shoe, and this is the most forgiving type of lacing system, because it allows me to make bigger adjustments here around the laces. So you see, if I had a very high instep, this is much more forgiving. This would open up like this and allow me to make that much more of an adjustment so that I can get a little bit of comfort in here. Again, always assuming that the length and the width of the shoe is proper for me. All right, so next we're going to try on an Oxford, and here I have the Luke wingtip Oxfords, and these are going to be a little bit less forgiving in terms of the lacing system, a little bit less adjustable. As you can see over here, with an Oxford, you can only go so far. It's a closed lacing system, and you can see that once this kind of V closes up, it's not going to go much tighter, and I don't really have too much to go in terms of opening up. So that's why an Oxford is considered a little bit less forgiving than a Blucher or a derby shoe, which has an open lacing system and can spread open and close that much more than an Oxford. So again, if you're an average instep, none of this really matters as much to you, because if you're again a 10D or a 10E, the instep is not going to vary. The instep is not going to affect your fit as much. But this is more if you do have a very high instep, then you want to take into consideration, what kind of lacing system you have, whether it's Oxford or an open lacing system like a Blucher or a derby. All right, so next we're going to try on this monk strap, the Aaron single monk strap. And so a monk strap is considered a slip-on shoe, and I'd say that's maybe a little bit more forgiving or a little bit more adjustable than a traditional loafer, because this is usually a little bit softer and it's cut pretty low. And then of course we have the actual strap that makes up the monk strap, and then you can adjust that a little bit higher, a little bit lower. But again, it's not going to be the same amount of adjustment that's going to be allowed in a lace shoe like an Oxford or a derby. All right, so next we're going to try on the Geo slipper, and this is definitely not going to be as forgiving or as adjustable as any of the lace shoes, and even less so than a monk strap. But still, our slippers are cut a little bit higher over here. I'm going to bring over this Greg loafer just so that you can see the difference. You can see how this cut is higher up. So if you do have a higher instep and you just need a loafer, I would suggest that you try one of these slipper loafers before trying a penny loafer. It's just a little bit more forgiving because of the way that it's cut. It's actually one whole cut over here. You can see that a loafer is actually two pieces, and they're able to give you just a little bit more room because of this, the way that this was cut at the factory. Also, one thing I'd like to point out about our slippers is that we're actually making them on a little bit of a thinner outsole so that they could be that much more flexible, more comfortable for when you're just lounging around or for when you're using these slippers. And last but not least, we have the Greg Penny loafer, and this is going to be the least adjustable or the least forgiving when it comes to your instep. And I have an average instep again, so I have no problem. This fits me perfectly. Feels really comfortable, really nice, no pressure over here, and everything is good. But again, if you were someone that did have a higher instep, you wouldn't be able to do anything about it over here, so you'd probably want to go with an open lacing or an Oxford lacing system. Again, on the other hand, you can size maybe a full size up if you did have the high instep, and that could probably take care of that a little bit. But again, these are just different things that you may want to consider when choosing your shoes. Again, if you're just an average, D or E width, just go with your shoe size. It's going to fit you great. As long as you follow our sizing instructions, you should be good to go. If you do have a higher instep, you just have that one more thing to take into consideration. That's what I wanted to show you guys, just the different things, the different fits of the different styles. And I hope that you have just that much more information to make an excellent fitting decision when you're picking out your shoes. Thanks a lot, as always. If you have any questions or you need any help with anything, feel free to email us to info@acemarks.com. We're happy to help you out, do everything that we can to make sure that you get the best fit the first time around. Thanks a lot.